Hey BookTube, Chelsea the Reading Outlaw here to give you guys the 9 books that I am loving the most so far in 2018. Obviously, we're a little over halfway through the year. We're already through August, almost into September, but we're not completely done for the year yet. So there's lots of room for this list to shift and grow. There's only 9 titles on it so far. I'm not sure how many. I don't really tend to put a cap on like best of list at the end of the year, but it will be interesting to look back and see how many of these books make it onto my final best of end of the year list. So these are like loosely based in the order that I read them, but sometimes Goodreads gets kind of wonky, so no promises. The first one is Better Nate Than Ever by Tim Federle. This is a middle grade book about Nate the Great, who wants more than anything to go to New York and audition to be in E.T. the stage show. He concocts a plan with his best friend to run away to New York for the day to audition and make that happen. Of course, as is wont to happen, that doesn't happen. That's not actually how things go down. And he's left learning lessons about family, making his dreams come true, what it means when you actually get what you want and what you have to give up to get there. He learned some family secrets along the way. I really, really love it. If you're a theater kid, if you know theater kids, if you're at all into that aspect of dramatic production, if you're just a really exuberant middle grader, or you know any middle graders who are beginning the process of maybe questioning some of their sexuality and how the people that they love might influence the way that they move through the world, this is a really, really great book for you to check out. Next up, this list can be super queer, y'all. Just buckle in. Y'all know me. This list can be pretty super fucking queer. It's not 100% queer, but like it's pretty there. So in that vein, next up is All Out, the No Longer Secret Stories of Queer Teens Throughout the Ages, edited by Sandra Mitchell. This is a short story collection that I actually read way forever ago and have had various pieces of picking at the back of my mind, especially the first story, which is a Little Red Riding Hood, French Resistance, trans retelling that it still is picking at my brain a little bit. I really, really love this collection. This collection explores gender identity, gender expression, how those two things can coincide and differ, sexuality, homosexuality, bisexuality. It runs the board. I absolutely love it. A lot of the authors contributing are cis that I could find. Again, you all know I don't really try and get too much into identifying people who haven't self-identified on their own. But from what I remember researching, there are a couple of trans contributing authors, mostly cis, and I'm not going to make any presumptions on queerness. But it's a really great collection. I really love short story collections, especially YA ones, especially that deal with queerness. So this just checked all the boxes. Next up is Hurts to Love You by Alicia Rai. This is the 3rd book in the Hate to Love You, Hurt to Want You, Want to Need You. I don't even know what the actual series is called, you guys, but it's so good. This final one, I'm not really even going to say much about it other than it features a woman who is finally making a name for herself and trying to stand on her own 2 feet after a lifetime of her family telling her that she didn't have to do that. And a man who is wrestling with so badly wanting to take care of somebody he doesn't feel he has any business taking care of for capital R reasons. This is the 3rd book in a series, and unlike a lot of romances, this series specifically, but Alicia's books have to be read in order if you don't want some pretty major spoilers on like family relationship stuff, and the family relationship stuff just becomes a bigger part of everything as you move through the book. So by the time you get to this last book, it's a pretty big deal, and I really don't want to take that away from anybody who wants to read it. Suffice to say, the dialogue is fast, the sex scenes are hot. They're so fucking good. This book deals with mental health and self-acceptance and figuring out where you fit in both your biological and your found family. I love everything Alicia does. I love this book. Go read the entire series. It's so bananas awesome. Next up is the first nonfiction title I'm going to recommend. This is The Curse of the Boyfriend Sweater, Essays on Crafting by Elena Okun. This is exactly what it says on the tin, but basically this is a really, really well put together reflection by Elena on the different crafts that she does and how each of those crafts reflects something about her life. The filling of a space with a thing, the turning of disparate elements into one cohesive unit, the use of crafting as a mechanism for channeling various emotions as opposed to the methods that other people might use in their life. I first heard about this book on the Reading the End podcast and absolutely knew that I had to pick it up immediately, so I did. I will link that episode down below so that you can hear the Jennies and the author talk about this collection, because that definitely put me over the edge on a collection that already sounded good. As you guys know or will have heard me talk about, I love to work with my hands. I love handcrafts. I love yarn crafts. Those are the things that I have been taught and know how to do really well. Knitting, crocheting, embroidery, cross stitch, all of those things. There are other things that I'm working on getting better at. I would love to learn how to sew. I would love to learn how to do metalwork and jewelry crafting. Luckily, the internet exists and YouTube exists, and I'm slowly in the process of teaching myself all those things. But I just really, really love some of the bigger life theories that Alana uses this collection to reflect on. So I really, really recommend that you pick it up. Plus, it's really got like a nice, like bright stripy yellow cover, and it just looks so good. All right, next up we have another romance. This is Duke by Default by Alyssa Cole. This is the second in her Reluctant Royal series. I love this entire series. I'm obsessed with this book. I will die for Portia. I will burn the world down for her. This is the story of Portia, a woman who has a little bit of a reputation as a hot mess, but as we learn in this book, there are reasons for that, reasons that she has to dig into and develop coping mechanisms for. But she has decided that part of getting her life back on track is to take advantage of an awesome internship opportunity at a Scottish sword making place. Tavish makes swords, and he also is secretly a duke. I don't really feel like that's a spoiler because it's Reluctant Royals and it's duke, like it's in the cover copy, you guys. It's like right there. But he's a secret duke, and they're both dealing with class background and race background and inheritance and earned deservedness and earned self-worth, and it's just so good, and they're so good for each other. The banter is so good. If you listen to this on audio, Tavish just is like that brogue is just a plus. I love Alyssa's work. Her contemporaries are amazing. Her historicals are worth putting everything you're reading down for and going to get right now. Obviously, every book ends with a happy ending, but these are happy people that you want to just take and cuddle close to you and just, I love it. I love it. Next up, we have a book that's not going to be for everybody, but was 10,000% for me. That's For Real by Alexis Hall. This is a male-male BDSM romance that has a really large age gap in it. The characters are separated by several decades. They are obviously both of consenting age, or that would not even be a thing we were talking about on this channel. But there is a pretty big age gap between them, which I know is something that will scratch against some people in a way that's not comfortable. Obviously, feel free to skip it. Your mileage may vary. If you're willing to give it a chance, I thought that it was the power dynamic of that age gap was explored really well. Lawrence is an older guy who's been on the kink scene for a long time. He's not even recently, but recently gotten out of a very long breakup, and he's just kind of tired of life. He's just kind of going through all of the motions. And one day into his club walks this kid. And so he goes up to basically ask the kid what he's doing there. And Toby, who looks so young and so sweet and so innocent, basically breaks down to Lawrence, explaining that what he knows in his heart is that he is a dom, but nobody will take him seriously because he's so young and because he looks so new, but he doesn't know how to get the experience if no one is willing to give him the experience. And Lawrence, who is a sub, drops to his knees in the club, and thus begins the roller coaster ride that is this book. It is beautiful, it is emotional, it is heart-wrenching. Obviously, it explores a lot of things with power dynamic and kink and age gap, but it is also a book about grieving and support and acts of love and how to actively show somebody that you love them. And I love it so much, you guys, and I really, really highly recommend that you go check it out. It's the third book in Alexis's Spires universe, but the books are not, you don't have to read them in order. I haven't. I'm going back to the first one now, but I didn't, and I didn't feel like I was missing anything. Next up, we have another YA book. This is The Handsome Girl and Her Beautiful Boy by B.T. Gottfried. I love this book, you guys. This book is kind of complicated to explain, but basically it's about two people who are highly judged by the world, who the world tells them that they look a certain way and they should like a certain kind of person, and they are both pushing back against that together and apart in ways that really question gender expression, gender identity. Art is such a puppy dog. He's the beautiful boy, and he is just so absolutely in love with love, and I love that about him. And I just really recommend that you pick up this book, you guys. This is one of those books that I wish that I had when I was a teenager, when I was just figuring out my own bisexuality. I'm still figuring out all of those fun things that come with gender and sex and the things that make up that part of our human identity. And I loved it now. I just wish I had been able to love it then. Give it to somebody in your heart. I do want to let you guys know that there is sex in this book. It's a YA book, so it's nothing like explicit, but it is on the page sex. There are no, it's not like a fade to black scene. So if that's something that's going to bump against you or a potential reader, I want you to know that. But I just really, really think that this is a book that should be handed out compulsorily to every high school student. I loved it so much. All right, and then we have two more books that'll bring us up to current to where I am with my reading. The first one is Jane Doe by Victoria Helen Stone. Go find this book on audio. stop what you're doing and listen to it now. This is the book of Jane Doe. Jane Doe is a sociopath who is back in town to hurt the man who hurt her friend. And it is just a slow breaking down of this other person. And it's an examination of victim blaming, domestic violence, rape culture, trigger warnings for all of that and more. But Jane Doe, as a sociopath and somebody who acknowledges her sociopathy, is able to really make clear and illuminate the abusive mental tactics that we see so many other characters use from the other side. And it's just, there's so many almost meta moments where you hear the way that Jane is expressing herself to this other person, and you can see, like, you can almost watch that happen from the outside, but knowing Jane's internal monologue just turns everything to the left and makes it a little bit just, it's delicious. If you've ever had somebody who's hurt somebody that you loved and you've come up with that list of all the things you would do to them, if you knew you wouldn't go to jail, or you knew there was no heaven, or like whatever the list is, whatever the thing is that's keeping you from doing the thing, no society, no all of that. Jane doesn't have any of that shit, and she's fucking out for justice. And it felt so good in the year of Me Too and 2018 and all this other shit where it feels like things are just uncontrollable. It felt so good to have that just narrative of just this one person who fucking gets what she wants, and the way she gets it is so good. Just, it's delicious. It might be my favorite book of the year, you guys. That one might not be going anywhere. And then the most recent book that I read that makes the list is Counterpoint by Anna Szabo. This book is another male BDSM romance. This is a rock star romance. This is the second book in the Twisted Wishes series. The first book in the Twisted Wishes series follows the guitarist and the drummer, and it's like an adversaries to lovers kind of thing. This one follows the guitarist, and there's some identity porn shenanigans. Dominic has created this persona for himself, Dom, on stage, who is very much so the kind of big brash rock and roller that his anxiety and his stage fright prevent him from being in real life. But off stage in real life, Dominic is falling in love with Adrian, and it's sexy and it's smooth, and they want to be intimate, and they both get off on this dominant submissive kind of kink negotiation where they're both kind of switches, but Dom prefers to bottom and Adrian prefers to top, and they both find a lot of emotional release for some shit that they're going with. And it's just such a beautiful exploration of all of those things, while at the same time Dominic has to come to the realization and the reckoning with his own self, and the bringing together of his two identities, or he's going to lose this person that he loves so much, because he can't do both. You can't keep your life separate when the one person that you want, like, you can't split yourself in two like that. So it's just really, really great. I highly recommend you check it out. This isn't a series that you have to read consecutively, so you could absolutely start with this one. Although I don't know why you would. You should just go start with the first one. They're fantastic. But again, that's Counterpoint by Anna Szabo. And guys, I've read so many good books this year so far. That's 9. I've read, last I took count, 106. So I'm about halfway to the goal that I set for the year. I'm not going to get there. I'm probably going to bottom out at 150. I'm hoping to get a little bit higher than that and at least read as many as I read the year before. That's kind of always my bottom bar goal. Fingers crossed, we'll see. But yeah, let me know what you're reading, the best books you've read so far. Let me know what I've missed that I've checked out. I feel like I've missed every SFF title that wasn't a Hugo or BookTube SFF award nominee. So what are you guys going to be recommending for next year? What's hot, what's coming out, what's new, what's hip? Let me know. I'm here for your recommendations as always. Please check out all the social media links down below, including chelseaoutlaw.com, which will redirect to all of my online presence. As always, friends, you can hit like, you can hit subscribe, you can leave me a comment. Until next time, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and have happy reading. Bye.